Motivation is the drive to do something. A husband's motivation to provide for his family. A child's motivation to do well in school. But what could possibly motivate the inhumane acts of a serial killer? Every person has been in a certain situation that has triggered feelings of having to choose between right and wrong. The choice of deciding where the line is drawn becomes the dilemma. Today I will be talking about three serial killers: Harold Shipman, Jeffrey Dahmer, and Ted Bundy. First I'll be talking about Harold Shipman. Harold Shipman was a doctor who killed around 250 of his patients. Harold was well-liked, known, and trusted in his small community, which made it easier for him to go undetected by the police. Many of his victims were old ladies or people who you would not notice if they died. Harold would administer high doses of morphine to his victims to kill them. He would then return to his office and falsify their medical records. Shipman was caught due to the death of Kathleen Grundy. Kathleen's daughter was suspicious of the will her mother left behind, and it was later found that Shipman forged this will in for his favor. On the 7th of September 1998, Shipman was arrested for the suspicion of murder, and later he would commit suicide by hanging himself. Secondly, I will be talking about the Milwaukee cannibal, Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer went on a horrific killing spree of 13 years, and he ended with the deaths of 17 young men. Dahmer was not motivated by killing. Dahmer was motivated by the dominance of his victims and satisfying his sexual needs. Dahmer would keep the skulls of his victims on a wall up as a memorial to them. He would eat parts of their muscles and parts of their hearts, to always have a piece of them with him. Lionel Dahmer, Jeffrey's father, would go on to write a book stating that he would have the same urges come to him in his dreams just as Jeffrey did, and he felt guilty that he might have passed those urges on to Jeffrey. Jeffrey was sentenced with over 900 years in prison after the 2-week trial in January 1992. Dahmer committed such acts as drilling holes in his victim's head and pouring acid in to get a zombie-like person, but no one survived these acts. Dahmer was caught in room 213 in Milwaukee, and this mistake would lead to his death. On November 28, 1994, a fellow inmate beat him to death. Lastly, I will be talking about Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was an infamous killer who had around 30 victims. He first started killing February 1974. His first victim was a 21-year-old named Linda Healy, who he followed to her house and then strangled her to death in her own bedroom. On July 14, 1974, at Lake Samish State Park, Bundy faked a broken arm and lured two young women to help him with his imaginary sailboat. The police would later found these women dead. The police asked for videos from this event from people to help them with the investigation. They were able to compose a sketch of Ted, attain Ted's first name, and know that he drove a Volkswagen that day. As the investigation for Ted grew more intense, Ted decided to move to Utah, where he would continue his killings. On September 1974, Ted killed 4 women in a matter of weeks, but one woman was able to get away. Her name was Carol Durant. Later that year, a police would pull Ted over, and in his car they would find a ski mask, handcuffs, and pantyhose with the eyes cut out. This would put him on the cops' radar. Carol was then able to identify and align up Ted, and on January 24th, 1998, at age 42, Ted was put to death by the electric chair. In conclusion, these killers all focused on a specific victim. Harold focused on the older generation who trusted him, who believed that a doctor could do no harm. And Jeffrey focused on the younger men due to his homosexuality. And Ted focused on younger women. All these serial killers were personable and had somewhat of a charismatic personality that attracted people to them. What they did not know is that they were mentally deranged, did outlandish acts, and will go down in history for their gruesome killings. Thank you.